Hello there, welcome. I have a double page scrapbook layout for you today. We're going to be creating with the Otterly Adorable collection from Stampin' Up! And I've got a whole bunch of photos. There's 11 photos, and when you look closely at those, I'll give you a closer look here in a moment. You'll see why I'm excited about this paper collection. The colors and the outdoor theme is very me, and I think these guys are adorable. So I always say scrapbooking does not have to be literal. Now I do have otters in my actual photos, so you can see there's one little cute little otter guy right there. So in this case it worked out perfect, but still, how many times do we use cute little animals on our layout when those little animals aren't necessarily in the photos? So I want to show you, these are all of the otter sides, pattern sides of the paper, and there are coordinating dies. So cute. Look at those little guys all snuggled together. And otters really are like that. They're very social little creatures, and they love their little otter friends, and they're just adorable. So the stamp set, like I said, has dies that cut out most of the otter shapes, and then there's really neat little pieces on here like this log. This cuts slits in the paper. You can tuck the otters in. There's bubbles, fish, these create little rocks, and all sorts of fun river or ocean lake elements that you can incorporate into your layouts. So if you look at the other side of the paper, you get 2 sheets of each. So these are these papers flipped over, and you can see there's no otters in sight. So while I am creating with the otters today, I have lots of layout ideas that have nothing to do with otters. So if you want to see that, make sure to hit that subscribe button for upcoming videos. But I think that these are just beautiful, and I am excited to use these for all sorts of outdoor adventures. Look at that one, it's cool. The artist used the shaving cream method or technique to create these watercolor, not watercolor, but water looking backgrounds. And that's a fun technique. I've seen it demonstrated, but I've never actually tried the shaving cream technique. But here's some little pebbles, fish, some just, plants. And I think that this is really cute. So let's go ahead and bring in my Versamats. I have a lot of photos from this particular adventure, and I spent a little bit of time in Cricut Design Space kind of sketching out where I wanted my photos to go, because that really helped simplify the process for me, and I could just quickly print them out, just deciding what photos went where. So what I'm thinking is something like this, and I love using smaller photos for flora and fauna type shots. So if you're on a hike and you have a lot of little plants, close-up shots of plants, mushrooms, maybe some butterflies or different things you saw along the hike, it's a great way to put them all on a layout and just have small little thumbnail shots here. So you can see there's a blue heron, and then we've got several otter pictures. This one here is tossing up a fish and eating his little lunch, and there were seals on this trip, and we were canoeing. I'll tell you more about this because this was definitely a highlight experience of our week. And then just some different waterfowl that was along the adventure. Here's some more seals. They're so cute. And then my favorite wildlife are these guys right here. My dogs. And this is Murphy and little Luna, who were on the trip with us. So I sketched out my photos to go something like this is what I'm thinking. And now we just have to decide what paper layers we want to bring in to help tell the story behind these pictures. I went ahead and grabbed 2 sheets of linen cardstock from my stash. I thought this might be nice for a change other than white. All of my photos are printed with a white border, so this will stand out a little bit better, and I won't have to double mat them. So I've got 2 different tones of the water paper, and I like them both, but this one matches my jacket a little bit better. Plus, I have some ideas for that kind of foliage paper. So I'm just trying these out to see what I want where. Actually, I'm going to switch these two. The greenery in the background of the photo that's now on the right was blending in with that pattern paper. So I think it stands out better against the blue. So I'm just thumbing through here, kind of taking inventory of what my options are. I do like these. I could use that one instead of the other foliage paper. So I think I'm going to save that one for another project and maybe focus on these two here. I am thinking I need something to mat my photos. So I've got this one here, but I don't think I like, those patterns are too similar, the gray and the blue, so I don't want those right next to each other. I not only created a sketch for my photos, but the entire sketch, so I know roughly where my paper layers are going. I'm just deciding which papers I want to fill those spots to match my sketch. So I went ahead and cut these down. Each month I host a sketch challenge for my customers over on Facebook, and it's so fun to see everybody's creative take. Sometimes they use the same products, sometimes they use products from their stash, and I just love all of the different ways to see a sketch come to life. So this is the sketch I designed for our November sketch challenge. I will go ahead and cut some pattern paper to go on the right-hand side. Now, I purposely switched it up so these are not mirror images. I'm a big fan of mirror images on a double page layout because it's very balanced, but I intentionally want this to be different, so I think it's going to be fun. We can go ahead and bring the photos back in, and then I was wondering what a darker background might look like. This is gray granite, which is a coordinating color, and this just might make those photos pop even more. Let's go ahead and try it. Here it is with the gray granite background, and I actually really like it. It's something different for me, and it really makes those photos stand out, so I think I'm going to go with that. And then I grabbed a couple sheets of cardstock. These are Stampin' Up! Colors. Calypso Coral is this vibrant one, which is the color in this collection. You can see it's the color of the little fish swimming through the seaweed there, and I think it's very beautiful, but it's a bit bolder. So I grabbed the Petal Pink, which Petal Pink is it's more of like a peachy to me rather than a pink, but I think that this goes nicely, and it's like a toned down version while still grabbing that color. But then I went through my stash and grabbed a piece of Melon. This is close to my heart, Melon. So it's kind of like a happy medium in between the two, and I really like this one. It goes beautifully. So if you have Melon in your crafty stash, this is a good choice as well with this collection. So anytime you have two pattern papers like this that are kind of busy, I highly recommend separating them with a little bit of cardstock, and it just gives your eye a break. It helps your brain kind of interpret, the end of one pattern, you take that in, and then you can see the next pattern rather than them just kind of, blending in together. So I'm going to cut a cardstock mat for this paper here. I'm not sure exactly how I will go about it, but I do want to add that pebbled paper to the right-hand side. So I like to repeat colors and elements. So I will go ahead and place a melon colored mat under this paper on the right-hand side as well. And then I grabbed a couple scraps of cardstock. The lighter is Lost Lagoon and the darker is Pretty Peacock. I want something to mat. I obviously will need to make these bigger, but I'm just trying the different colors. I think I like the darker one. Let's go with Pretty Peacock. So I cut this large enough to house my 3x4 photos, and I'm going to put my title underneath. So that's why it's a little bit longer. This is a little gray granite Stampin' Spot. It's a tiny little mini ink cube, and Stampin' Up! Does sell these, but they come in their kits, different colors, whatever coordinates with the kits. So I actually have collected quite a few because I love the kits, and they're pretty handy for traveling, and then of course little techniques like this, inking up the edges. I won't make you watch the whole process, but I will do the rest of the layers off camera. For my title, I cut out a bunch of letters from the same Melon cardstock using the mini alphabet die from Stampin' Up! I got this one because it is smaller. I have quite a few alphabet dies. I love them because you never run out of the letter, unlike with stickers, right? So this actually you run through in one piece, and there's duplicates. So I did have to run it through twice because I have a lot of R's, but I thought this is what the end result looked like. I didn't even try to line that up, and I'm like, that would be fun on like a school layout or something. You can make like this detailed alphabet banner like element in the background. So I thought that's kind of cool. But anyway, I have spelled out River Adventure, and I am hoping these are going to fit perfectly in this space. So let's give it a go. Haha, don't you wish it would happen like that in real life? Wouldn't that be handy? I have my T-square ruler here. This is a retired product from close to my heart, but I'm going to use it to help me line up my letters. I do want them a bit lower there. So I recommend starting with the outside letter and working your way in. So I'm starting with E, and I'm going to work my way over to the A in adventure, and then I'll switch over to the first R in river and work from the left in. If you start all the way at the left and then just work your way all the way across, you might run out of room. So doing it this way will help prevent that from happening. These alpha dies are pretty cool because they're small enough you can, use longer words like this to create your titles, but they're large enough to have a nice impact on the page. We are ready to start the fun embellishing process. So I went ahead and cut out a few of these cute little guys here. So this one is actually, it coordinates with the die, one of the dies from the coordinating die set, and easily cuts out those two. This one I fussy cut. There's not a die for this image. You do have dies for the little otters that are swimming, but I wanted to use these guys, and I die cut and fussy cut them from this pattern paper. Now, rather than coming in from the edge, I purposely poked my scissors and then cut around them and then die cut or trim them. And that's going to make it so that I could use this piece for a frame style layout. So I was just mindful of that, a little tip that you might want to consider when you're fussy cutting your pattern paper. And these are the cutest. So we naturally have a little nook right here, and I thought maybe we can have an embellishment cluster there. And then I'm going to make a little bit more interest down here by the title. And so if we have that and that, I want to bring something over to this area, and you can see we have a little nook right here. So I want to overlap my photo just a bit, and I'm kind of close to my husband's head in that particular shot. So maybe we want to swap these actually. And you know what, now that I think about it, I've got several otter photos over here. So let's move, this one has a lot of space in the top of the photo, and plus we already have this otter photo. So let's give them a little separation, and then that way I'm not covering anything vital in the top of the photo. Also using the coordinating die, I cut out a couple of the logs, and I was just playing around with these. Sometimes it's nice just to have them ready to move around on your layout. And then we've got the tall little seaweed or just plant foliage here. And then I cut out from gray or basic gray, I've got some rocks. So this is just what I'm starting with. I'll probably need to cut more, but those all came from the standalone dies, and I kind of want to use this. It is really cute. So we've got a bubble, die that can create little detail or bubbles, and then fish. So I just think this is going to be fun to incorporate, but let's set that aside for now and start playing with these and building up our embellishment clusters. So I'm thinking I want to maybe put, I said, something over here. So maybe we could start with the log. And I just want to show you the detail. Can you see all of the wood graining the die cuts into that? I think that's really fun. So you know what I often like to do, you guys hear me say this all the time, is use like a circle or a tag. And I think that's really going to be beneficial in this case because that's getting a little bit lost on the paper. So I was just thinking maybe something over here too. Let me grab some basic shapes. I always have my Spotlight on Nature circle dies. Those, without fail, just seem to be a good choice every time. So we could do something like that. Hello, Dave. How are you, Mr. David? He's going to move on through. But we could do something like that. And then I also have a bunch of tags. I always keep these on hand too. And this is a Cricut cut, and it always has a fun little detail. So we could tuck that I've got different size tags from die cuts in my stash. And let's try a tag. I feel like I've been using the circles a lot, so sometimes I will just pick something that I haven't used in a while rather than, you know, and I've been using these a lot too. So let's just go with the tags, maybe a little tag shape over here, kind of highlighting these cute little otters. And let's let this develop. So if we can maybe cut another otter and create a little scene on the bottom here. Let's add some of these cute little sprigs coming out from behind the log and make like a little scene. So these were cut from old olive cardstock, which is a coordinating color. And then the stones I cut from basic gray, which is a very nice dark gray color. In the end of September, my husband and I were driving up the coast to watch our son's mountain bike race in Ashland, Oregon, and we decided to take the scenic route and make a whole thing of it. And one of the veterinarians I work for told me about this excursion. So it's in Fort Bragg, and it's called Catch a Canoe and Bicycles Too, because you can rent boats and you can rent bicycles. I think I'm going to add these on. I think I need to switch to this bigger tag here because that other one just wasn't large enough to capture enough of the fish. So we're going to use this big one. I'll die cut that. Isn't that cool? Now I want the water to show through. If you wanted these fish to be orange, you could put a little scrap of orange behind this tag and layer it. But I kind of want it a little bit more of a subtle detail. Back to our river adventure, we decided to rent a canoe for 3 hours, and you start at the mouth of the river where it dumps into the ocean. So you have to time it with the tides, so the tides are working with you. And we paddled up the river for an hour and a half and had lunch and then turned around and came back. It was so incredibly peaceful. We had the river to ourselves. There's one other family out there that we passed once, and they were super friendly, having a wonderful time with their young children. And it was just incredible. I made a little video montage of all the animals we saw and shared that in my customer group, so they got to see that. But it was just amazing. If you are ever exploring the Mendocino coastline, I highly recommend this excursion. It was amazing. On the other side of this water paper, we have these little swimming otters. So I thought maybe one of these, this little guy here, you could kind of incorporate into that. So he'd be like looking into the layout and kind of wrapping around. So that one would be cute. And then I am also thinking this guy here, we can kind of pop him up next to it and have like him going behind the log. That might be super cute. So I really like this paper. Let's go with this one here because that's going, I can cut this guy out and still have a big piece left for another project. There are stamps too, so you could absolutely stamp and color this little guy, but since I use the paper for these two, I'm going to keep it consistent and use the paper for this one, which also has a coordinating die. Let's see how this little guy looks in our cluster here. So we felt really lucky to have actually spotted the otters because the people that rented us the boat said they were pretty elusive and hit or miss. So they said we would see lots of birds and seals, like big harbor seals, which we did, and they were really cute. But we got all the way back to where we could see the dock ready to return the boat, and then there were the otters. There was a whole little family of them catching fish and eating them in the grasses by the banks, and they put on a good show. So here is my attempt at adding this little pebble paper to the other side. I always like to repeat colors and elements, and then I printed out this. It's from a Let's Kayak stamp from Close to My Heart, and you could have used this for a title too, but it says explore every river bend, and it's just so perfect. I have to use it. Right now, where to put it? It's kind of big. Like I said, it's big enough to where that could actually be a decent title on your layout. So we could put it there, but it's feeling a bit crowded. I don't want to cover too much of my photos. What if we actually scoot this up and tuck this in here? That'll work. I actually really like that. I think that looks good. I'm trying to keep these photos somewhat in line, but that way you scoot this down, and yeah, I like it. Let's see what this little log looks like, maybe filling that space. That's cute. Let's go ahead and tuck that there, and then I'll cut another log to put back where I robbed this from. So anyway, my husband actually spotted the otters and he was like, look, there they are. And we were just so excited. Do you see that little corner of the tag? I don't like how that's just poking out there. So I cut another pebble and we are going to extend our little otter scene and cover that right up. And now it looks part of the design. I cut a couple sprigs from one of the smaller sprig dies to tuck into this area here. But my husband was so good because he knows how much I like the pictures and I was taking video. So he kept paddling, keeping us, because, we're in the mouth of the ocean. The tide's coming, pushing us around. This says we're cute together. And I thought this would be really good underneath my dogs, but it's not. It's a little bit long for that space. So we are going to mask that off and make it fit. So I'm cleaning it really well. I apologize, I'm off camera there. And we're going to mask off the word together. I had already inked up this stamp, so I am just making sure it's super clean. And then I'm masking off together. We're inking up only the first half, which says we're cute. And then we'll remove the Post-it note and stamp it right into this open space below the photos. My dogs are pretty cute together. Little Luna looks like a miniature border collie, so everybody assumes she's a puppy, but they're actually both double digits now. So they are adorable. Let's reverse the process now. I've masked off the words we're cute and I'm inking up together. Let me scoot this down. I'm actually going to put a Post-it note over my photo because the glossy finished photos, the stamps kind of stick to them and they can leave a little mark on them. So just put a piece of paper down to protect your photo. My T didn't come out quite perfect, but I'm going to grab a brown pen. I stamped this in early Espresso, so the brown will just touch that right up. And now they have this really cool satin cord and then these Riverside gems that go with this collection. They look like iridescent little bits of abalone. They're so pretty. And I think these will be a really nice detail around our clusters. And then I'm going to use that beautiful lagoon satin cord to tie off the tags. Now, I did not leave much room for my journaling, and I do have a big story to tell. So I need to figure out how to incorporate that in, and I do have a few ideas. So I could use a 3x4 flip flap, but I think I'm going to create a pocket. I picked up this stamp set from Stampin' Up. It's called Love This Moment. There's great sentiments, but this one here says the story. So I mounted that onto a block and I am going to stamp it onto this white tab using early Espresso ink. So this will let the viewer know that there is a story hidden behind here. So this is an old tab punch from my stash. Stampin' Up does have one, so I'll leave that linked below. But I've stamped out the story and now we can attach this to our journal card. So I want this to sit right about here. Let me go ahead and grab my tape runner. I'm going to put tape runner on both sides and that way it'll stick to the front and back and we can use this to pull the story out from behind the photo. That is looking pretty cute and the story is going to sit behind this photo here. So what we need to do, I pried that up and it did rip the paper underneath, but that's okay because it's going to go right back. You will need some foam adhesive strips. These are extra thin and I really like these. We are going to create a border around the right and left side and the bottom. So you want the bottom to be exactly where you want this to sit. So it's going to catch on that and you'll be able to see the tab and it's not going to slip down behind or fall out the bottom or anything like that. So I am just using up these outside bits here and we want to go all the way from top to bottom. Nothing like doing things in reverse order. I am going to set these aside and actually, I'm just going to peel this up here. Again, it's going to rip the paper, but it's okay because I'm going to put it right back into the spot. So the moral of today's story is figure out where you want your journaling ahead of time and incorporate it into the layout. So let's tuck this guy right back in here. So that is going to kind of have a different level, but it's okay because the photos popped up on foam tape. I'm totally okay with it. It's going to be just fine. So that'll sit right in there. You can see the tab that says the story and you'll be able to pull that out of a top loading page protector to read the journaling. Let me hold this up so you can see how cute that little otter's expression is. I did finish off the tags with some white ribbon and that satin twine. The wildlife on this trip was just phenomenal. I feel like this paper collection and embellishments were made for my layouts, and I love the little fish cutout detail. So fun. Really, really happy with how I was able to document these memories. Mark your calendars. This paper collection will be released on November 5th, and everything I've used can be found in the description box below. Thanks for spending time with me today. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you very soon here on YouTube.